Media Workers Association. These are very, very influential and very, very powerful international organizations, and rarely when they make their voices heard are they ignored. Let us see whether this authoritarian dictatorship will ignore these important organizations, because when you ignore organizations of this standing in the international community, there are normally ramifications and far-reaching repercussions. So let us see. The Prime Minister loves to masquerade as a journalist. He loves to masquerade as a champion of press freedom. He loves to masquerade as a champion of the constitutional rights of the people. And here it is. In my view, apart from the SARA bill, this Broadcasting Amendment Bill is the most vulgar bill that has been tabled and passed in our parliament over the last 30 years. And it was tabled and passed by no other than Moses Nagamutu, the once champion of journalists and champion of press freedom and champion of the constitutional right of freedom of expression. He passed the most vulgar and the most evasive and abusive bill against freedom of the press and freedom of expression over the last 30 years. And now the international community has come out against him. Three important organizations, Reporters Without Borders, International Press Institute, and the Association of Caribbean Media Workers, and of course our own Guyana Press Association, have all condemned this bill, condemned the government for passing it, and are calling on the president not to assent to it. So we are happy that we are getting that kind of international support, and it also significantly, every time I say something, I am being criticized, or the PPP, whenever we say something, we are being criticized as making things political. You know, our criticisms are viewed as more political than genuine. So we are happy that the world is coming out to say what we said were genuine, were constitutionally based, and had a legal footing, and that we were not making wild, reckless, and politically inspired criticisms, because all of the objections which we have raised, all of the arguments which we have advanced, they have all been vindicated by these international agencies and international organizations. So I just wanted to bring you, the people, up to speed with that, because that's news that only came out today. You know, normally I speak on a regular basis, and sometimes you may get tired of hearing me speak about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, the rise of political dictatorship in this country, the violations that are taking place of our constitution and of our law by this government, the violations that are taking place in relation to the rule of law, the abuse of executive powers, the attempts to undermine independent constitutional agencies whose functions are to oversight the executive. We have seen a plethora of actions and a clearly defined strategy being played out to undermine the integrity, the autonomy, and the independence of these agencies, so that they cannot effectively discharge their constitutional responsibility of oversighting the executive. It is when these checks and balances are in place and they function smoothly that you can say that you have a democracy. But when you have a government who is misbehaving but does not want these oversight authorities to say anything, what does the government do? It undermines these organizations. It harasses the people who work in these organizations. They threaten them, they prosecute them, they persecute them. And so you have organizations like the Public Service Commission, whose responsibility is to ensure that this government does not dismiss public servants without cause. But even if they do dismiss public servants, then rather the government cannot dismiss public servants. It is the Public Service Commission that must do so. That a complaint must be lodged by the government to the Public Service Commission, and the Public Service Commission will determine whether the employee should be dismissed or not. And before they do that, they have to embark on a process which is outlined in law. It's a process that is designed to ensure that there is fairness and there is natural justice. So the allegation has to be put to the public servant, and the public servant must be given an opportunity to answer those allegations or seek the assistance of a lawyer to do so. So a whole process has to go through before we determine whether the public servant committed a wrong, and if the wrong is committed, whether dismissal is a sanction that should be pursued, or whether there should be this other disciplinary action short of the ultimate sanction of dismissal. That's the function of the Public Service Commission. Now, once that commission functions independently, it means that the government can't interfere with public servants. They can't dismiss them. They can't promote favorites. They can't hire favorites. They can't hire political cronies. They can't hire relatives. And once that commission is functioning properly, that will pose a problem to a dictatorship government. It will pose a problem to an authoritarian regime. And the Public Service Commission has been posing such problems for this government. So guess what they did? They embarked upon a course of action to remove the head of the Public Service Commission, Carville Duncan. Carville Duncan was their stumbling block. Carville Duncan stood for the rights of the public servants and ensured that the government does not harass and interfere and dismiss and discriminate against the public servants. The government, being the dictatorship that it is, couldn't tolerate that. So what they did, they framed up charges, first of all, against Carville Duncan in relation to something that he did at GPL. Now, all those charges, I believe, have already been dismissed, but they're still not putting back Carville Duncan in the position, though the charges have been dismissed. What the president has done, he has instructed the prime minister to start a process to remove Carville from office. And the president did so after himself and Mr. Harmon, according to Carville Duncan, they invited Carville Duncan to the office of the president, and they offered Carville Duncan to resign. They said to Carville Duncan that we will give you a good package, just go your way. Why do you think they want to do that? Because they want to run roughshod over the public service. They want to discriminate, they want to dismiss, they want to control, they want to abuse, they want to mantrol, they want to have complete control over everyone so that they can put who they want into positions so that they can get wrong things done. So Carville was the stumbling block. So they called Carville in the office. After when they charged him and that was not sufficient, they called Carville in the office and they said, look, accept this package and go your way. And Carville refused. Carville said, I'm not going to do that. And the president made that infamous remark that I don't want any more blood on my carpet. You must have remembered that statement. It was featured prominently in the press. So the president said to Carville, look, I don't want any more blood on my carpet. Just go your way. And Carville Duncan left the office of the president, refused the offers that were made to him, and made a public statement. As a result of that, they initiated a tribunal to remove Carville from office. It is in relation to that tribunal that I went and I got a court order stopping that tribunal from doing its work. because I was saying that that tribunal was not properly constituted and was not established in accordance with law. I got what is called an order nisi from Justice Franklin Holder, putting the work on the commission, the work of that tribunal on hold. And it is that case that was going on in the High Court before Justice Holder that Basil Williams tripped out. Remember, he was not winning the case. He was asking a set of questions that the witness was embarrassing him. Carville Duncan's secretary was in the witness box. And he was just making himself, he was not making sense in the court. And he started to get frustrated with the witness and eventually started to take out his frustration on the judge. And that is when that altercation ensued, where he abused the judge and caused the judge to walk off the bench. Remember? And then he barefacedly, for days in the newspapers, blamed me for the judge walking off. This fella is unbelievable. He is on his leg. He's cross-examining a witness. The witness in the witness box, the judge on the bench, the judge and him having an exchange, as a result of which he cussed down the judge, disrespected the judge, and then the judge walked off the bench and he ran out and telling reporters that I caused the judge to walk off the bench. Fortunately, the judge issued a statement and held him responsible for disrespectful conduct and contemptuous conduct. My only regret is that the judge did not charge him for contempt, because that is what should have happened. The judge did not charge him for contempt, or else he would have been in Camp Street with those people that escaped. So that is how the Carville Duncan and the Public Service Commission issue unfolded, and that is where it is now. And they took Patrick Yard, who is the chairman of the Public Service Union, and made Patrick Yard the acting chairman, replacing Carville Duncan on the Public Service Commission. And the government as a whole, the ministers are in competition with each other to see who is more incompetent than whom. That is what is going on in this government. There is no other way to explain, because one wrong committed today by one minister is overtaken the next day or shortly thereafter by a wrong committed by another minister, but only this time in a most exaggerated manner. And then another minister will come and committed another wrong in an even more exaggerated and aggravated manner. So every wrong that is being committed is worse than the one that was just committed. And that is a cycle that is going on in this government. So you have them now getting rid of Carville Duncan. They have replaced him with Patrick Yard. That by itself is another unconstitutionality. You can't have the head of the union being the head of the Public Service Commission as well. Doesn't that sound wrong even to you, lay men and lay women who are out there? But I don't, and this government has in the cabinet over 5 lawyers with, I would say, a lot of experience. And yet they do these things one after the other. Now, I told you that public service story because I want to get to this story that I want to tell you. Tonight you will hear on your news, and tomorrow you will see in the newspapers, a letter written by Mr. Joseph Harmon, Minister of State, addressed to the Police Service Commission, in which Mr. Harman directs the Police Service Commission on behalf of the President of the country, Mr. David Granger, directs the Police Service Commission to put all promotions in relation to the Guyana Police Force on hold until further directions from the President. Now, I know that it sounds bizarre, so I'll repeat it. So if you think the Carville Duncan imbroglio was bad, listen to this. Minister Harman writes on behalf of the President, President David Granger, to the Police Service Commission, directing the Police Service Commission not to proceed with any promotion in the Guyana Police Force until the President directs. Now, the Constitution is very, very clear. Article 226(1) of the Constitution says that no commission, and I'm quoting, no commission shall be subject to the direction and control of any other agency, person, or authority in the discharge of its functions under the Constitution. Let me repeat. Article 226(1) of the Constitution says that no commission shall be subject to the direction or control of any other person, agency, or entity as it discharges its functions under the Constitution. No commission. The Police Service Commission and the Public Service Commission are commissions to which Article 226 makes reference. So Article 226 forbid any person, any authority, or any agency from directing the Police Service Commission or any other service commission in the Constitution from directing them to do their work or not to do their work, or to do their work in a particular manner. And the President himself is guilty of violating Article 226. And that is why I gave you this story. I recited the Carville Duncan incident for you to show you that it is not an isolated event, but it is a pattern of illegality, of unconstitutionality, of unlawfulness by this government right across the governmental spectrum, more particularly as it relates to independent constitutional agencies. Now, the Police Service Commission is responsible for the promotion of police officers, discipline, promotion, and dismissal above the rank of officer, above the rank of inspector, but below the rank, I believe, of deputy commissioner. All those police personnel within that divide, from inspector all the way up to before the commissioner, they are subject to the jurisdiction of the Police Service Commission. And the Police Service Commission is responsible for promotion, discipline, and dismissal of police officers of those ranks. The Constitution, as I just said, says very clearly that in the discharge of those functions, the Police Service Commission must not be interfered with or directed by any person or agency or authority. And here it is the President telling the Police Service Commission that it must not promote policemen until the President says so. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? it is as if it is impossible for this government to function within the law. It is impossible for this government to function within the Constitution. It is as if it is impossible for the government to function democratically. They seem incapable of doing that. This whole commission of inquiry, as I have argued from the beginning, that is going on into the assassination plot of the president, is an exercise with an ulterior and sinister motive. And that motive is to denigrate and damage the reputation of about 3 or 4 identified police officers to affect their upward mobility in the force. And here it is, the president giving the nation all the evidence that it needs to support that conclusion which I just articulated. That direction to the Police Service Commission to put all promotion on hold until the president so directs is intended to tell them, hold your hands until this commission report comes out. Because this commission report is intended to indict 2 or 3 officers. If you follow it, you will know who the officers are. You will know who the officers are. This commission of inquiry is intended to indict them so that they will not be promoted. And while the commission of inquiry is going on, the president is ensuring that there is no promotion in the meanwhile. So he tells the Police Service Commission, put everything on hold. Put everything on hold. You know why? Because they are waiting for the Paul Slow report. Because Paul Slow obviously has been given directions to come to particular conclusions and to knock a couple policemen in the process. Then they have identified them. And if you read what is going on or you look at the commission, you will see that everything is directed at pulling down 2 or 3 important high-ranking police officers. And that is all that this commission of inquiry was intended to do. There was nobody who wanted to kill the president. It's absolute nonsense. And the police investigated it and they found that that was so. They found that that was so. What do you want the people to do? Well, create a story that doesn't exist. It was a fabrication. Somebody started a rumor. And these people, you saw they like Siren, and they like motorcade, and they like outriders and so on. They like that kind of masquerade. They like that attention. They're attention seeker. So if somebody if they hear this rumor that somebody trying to assassinate somebody, that's a big thing. Of course it's a serious matter, a very serious matter, once it involves the safety of any public officer. But the police did an investigation. The police did an investigation. And the police concluded that the allegations were without substance. They were without foundation. And therefore closed the file. Every day, the police does investigations that go nowhere. So they close the files. Nothing is wrong with that happening here. This commission of inquiry will not find anyone guilty. All it will do, and you will see, it will knock down as doing a bad job 3 officers. 2 or 3 officers. It will knock them down. That is what it is intended to do. You will hear nothing will come out about whether the story is real, that somebody actually wanted to assassinate the president. The commission is not dealing with that issue, if you notice what's going on. It is all about the conduct of a couple officers, who was friendly with who was not friendly with whom, who took something from this one, who renewed this one gun license. Absolutely nothing to do with the safety of the president. Nothing to do with the real issue, which is whether someone actually hatched a plot to assassinate the president. That issue gone to the back burner. And now it is a couple policemen who are being investigated. Not about this incident, about who they are friends with and who they give firearm licenses to and who got an upgrade. And that kind of irrelevance and extraneous matters have overwhelmed and overtaken the Commission of Inquiry. And you will see that there will be no conclusion about the story, whether it was false or not. In fact, there will be a conclusion that it was false. And that's the very conclusion that the police came to. But as I said, this was not to investigate the complaint. It was to investigate the police officers, because that's what they intend to do. And here it is, the president instructing the Police Service Commission, in violation of the Constitution, to put promotions on hold. We have issued a statement today from the leader of the opposition office, and we are calling upon the Police Service Commission to ignore the unlawful and unconstitutional directions coming from the office of the president, and to continue to discharge its constitutional mandate as an independent commission as the Constitution has authorized it to do. That is our direction. That's our advice to the Police Service Commission. And any attempt by the Police Service Commission to succumb to this unlawful direction, we will challenge it again in the court. We will challenge it again in the court. Because these are cases that you cannot lose. You cannot lose. In fact, I am going to challenge it whether or not they abide by it. Because I can do this in 1 hour and just file it in the court system and leave it. And that brings me to the other issue that I talked about. Recall, I used to say some time ago, I used to speak to you, and I still do on a regular basis, about rice farmers on the west coast of Berbice, from the villages of Cottonfield and Seafield and number 14 and a couple other villages. Their leases, which were granted to them by the PPP government, have been revoked by this government. Firstly, these are 50-year-old leases granted to these rice farmers by President Ramotar. I was present. I assisted in handing over some of the leases. There was a public event at Bath Settlement, at Bath, by where the market tarmac is. We had a big event there. It was Agriculture Month, and we handed over these leases. I think it was 2014. When they got into office, one of the first things that they did was to get the MMA to revoke. As usual, he lost all the cases. And the then Chief Justice Ian Chan quashed all the attempts at revocation of those leases by the MMA. The Chief Justice pointed out that it's only the President grants state leases and only the President can revoke it. Basil Williams then went to the President and advised the President that he must revoke the leases. Well, the President revoked the leases now, and I started to challenge them one by one. Well, today, Chief Justice George has ruled in 2 of the matters. One filed by, I can't remember the name of the person, but they are from number 14 village, George something, and Joyce Nicholson, and George Ned, I think the gentleman name is. These are 2 rice farmers from number 14 village. I filed their cases where President Granger revoked their leases. I filed the cases in April 2017. Again, Basil Williams appeared. He raised a whole host of irrelevant arguments that you can't sue the president, that the president has immunity, and a whole set of foolishness. I never sued the president. I sued him, the Attorney General. But of course, I question the actions of the president, that the action of the president is unlawful. And I've explained this to Basil Williams a million times, that when you sue the Attorney General, you're not suing the president, but that although the president has immunity, well, all that means is that you can't sue him personally, but you can sue his Attorney General, and you can question the legality of the president's action, because the immunity doesn't cover the legality of his actions. It only covers him personally. So you can't sue David Granger, but you can question President David Granger's action in a court of law. So if he acts unlawfully, then a court will strike it down. And when he revoked these people's lease, President David Granger revoked these leases. And I challenged him in April of this year. I challenged those revocation. And I filed these two actions on behalf of these two rice farmers, Joycelyn Nicholson and George something. I can't remember Mr. George's surname, but I think he's a former teacher in number 14 village. And the Chief Justice ruled today that the president's revocation of the lease was unlawful. Unlawful. That it amounts to a violation of the people's constitutional right to own property without the state taking away it from them. And thirdly, she granted a conservatory order preventing them from interfering with the rice farmers' occupation of the land unless they buy out their interest in the lease. You know, government, the state, can always take back lands from you, but they must pay you for the value of your lease. So the judge didn't prevent them from doing that. But she said if you want these leases, then you have to buy it back from these farmers because it is now their property. And finally, the Chief Justice awarded $300,000, I think, in cost to each of these persons for having to sue the government. So, let me summarize. The Chief Justice Roxanne George today ruled that President David Granger's revocation of the rice farmers' leases at number 14 village, Region 5, were unlawful, were unconstitutional, amounted to a deprivation of their property as protected by the Constitution, and therefore the revocation is illegal. She granted a conservatory order preventing the state from dispossessing these farmers or interfering with their possession. She said that if the state wants the land, the state must have to buy the leasehold interest from the farmers. And she awarded the farmers $300,000 each for having to go to court to protect their rights. And in so doing, the Chief Justice again overruled every single argument put forward by Attorney General Basil Williams. So we won for the rice farmers of West Coast Berbice a great victory. There are many more of them whose cases are in the system. The previous Chief Justice, Justice Yonette Cummins, heard about 6 of them, but before she could have ruled, she got elevated to the Court of Appeal. But now that Justice George has ruled, I will now write Justice Cummins because the cases are finished. They're finished before her. It's just for her to rule. Now that Chief Justice George has ruled, I will write Justice Cummins to say, you need to rule in these rice farmers' matters. There are about 6 of them outstanding. And there's only one way she can rule. There is only one way that she can correctly rule or properly rule, and that is to revoke or declare unlawful the president's revocation of these leases. So we are winning won two significant battles in the court system. And that is why there is this constant attempt to undermine and interfere with the independence of the judiciary. And that is why almost every time I speak and every time I write, I appeal to you that we need as a country and as a people to stand in defense of the judiciary, stand in solidarity, in support of the judiciary. And whenever we see any attempt is being made to interfere with our judges, to attack our judges, to criticize our judges, to manipulate our judges, we must speak loud and clear, and we must protest in the streets. Because as I often say, today might be you, today might be me, tomorrow will be you. There is only one thing that is stopping these people, and it is the judiciary. It is the law. And if we allow the judiciary to go, if we allow them to take over the judiciary, then we will lose everything in this country. Today you see the rice farmers from West Coast Berbice were able to get justice. Tomorrow may be your turn for you to get justice. Now, if the judiciary was not independent, how you think the judiciary would have ruled? The judiciary would not have ruled against the president. That would not have happened. So that is why we have to continue to zealously and jealously guard the judiciary from any form of interference by this administration. It is our duty and our responsibility to do so. Well, I think that I have spoken a lot since the program has started, and the phone has been going all the time. So I'll pause here now and we will take the discussions to the phone. Caller, you're on the phone. Good night.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes.
Today, in Amsterdam, the police has a no stopping sign in front of a private business. Is that legal?
No stopping sign in front of a private business?
Yes, and charge drivers to stop in there and put that passenger.
It is difficult for me to give you an informed answer. It will depend upon a number of factors. But normally, the ordinary course of things, a no stopping sign ought not to be placed in front of the egress and ingress of private property. You will recall some years ago, in fact perhaps under the PPP government, the police attempted to do that at several places in Georgetown, and they eventually had to remove it. Because the city council and so on, because these things have implications for the city council as well, you know. It's not only the traffic department or the police force that is involved in those signs, but the municipality would normally have a say. Alright? Yes. But it is not normal for that to happen.
No, the reason I asked you because I've been told to silence them in court or trying to, because they charge you to go to court.
Well, I will advise you or encourage you to do that, but get a lawyer.
Yeah, I will get a lawyer.
Yes.
But I'm just asking you if it's legal before I do that.
No, as I said, the law is often not black and white, you know.
Okay.
Right? So it depends on the facts and circumstances, where the sign is located, etc. You understand?
It's located on the public road in front of a building.
I know, but... Okay, but why did they choose to put that sign there?
Nobody knows. This morning they just start charging everybody and not people party.
Alright, challenge it, caller. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I've been receiving a lot of complaints from the police, well, rather from the citizens in relation to the police. I'll speak about that shortly. Caller, you're on the air. Hello? That caller is not ready. Look, when you want to participate in this program, you have to be swift and brisk. Caller, you're on the air. Yes? I'm not hearing you, caller. Hello? I'm sorry. I may have caused that to lose that call. I'm trying to fix the microphone. Sorry about that, caller. Trying to get through again. The reports that I have received are that at many police stations, and Crabwood Creek, I think, is one. Number 51 Village is one. That when people call at these police stations to report a robbery or to request assistance of the police, they do not get the assistance. The police turn up 2 days late. Now, that is unacceptable. I understand the challenges which our police officers face on a daily basis. But to take 2 days to answer a call, it doesn't make sense. Don't go. If you're going to go 2 days after, then why are you going? Don't waste the state resources to go. Do something else in a more timely way. Caller, you're on the air. Good night. Peter Fraser? That who should be senior counsel? That I should be senior counsel? I can't remember. Yeah. Uh-huh. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Keep on looking at the program. Thank you very much, caller. You're very flattering to me tonight. And where are you calling me from? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Every week I promise myself that I will make this announcement, and sometimes I forget. Please, we are promoting the Mirror newspapers. You hear the caller says he reads everything that I write. I write for the Mirror, and several of the leaders of our party and other very important functionaries, they write for the Mirror. The Mirror is not what it used to be. The Mirror is a newly constructed paper. It has a lot of information which you would require. And a Mirror is available. A Mirror newspaper is available in your community. You just need to find out where it is being sold. And if it is that you want more mirrors being sold, or mirrors being sold at other locations, please make contact with members of our party, and please make contact with other officials who you know are associated with the Mirror, and we will make the arrangements. Caller, you're on the air.
Good night, sir.
Good night. Do you buy the Mirror newspaper?
Yes.
And where do you get the Mirror from? Armadale gas station. Is it sold there? Okay. Well, you see, this is West Coast Berbice, right?
Yes.
So Armadale gas station, that's right next to, you know the Armadale, right on the road. Mirror newspapers are being sold there. So right there, go and get your Mirror for those people who live along the area. Yes, sir, continue.
Now, this question is not a
Number 41 village. Oh, my apologies. I am sorry. Is number 41 village. When I said the rice farmers from number 14, I am so sorry. It's number 41 village. I apologize. No, it's too much things for me to remember. Yes.
I was more to answer. In all the things that happen, you must always remember your action stop and assist always wrap from the head.
Okay.
Once the head wrap, you still go back to.
All right, caller.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you heard some words of wisdom there from that caller, but that's an important an important correction which I must make. It's number 41 village, West Coast Berbice, where those rice farmers are from, and not number 14. I'm so sorry. Caller, you're on the air. Yes?
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How are you doing on your program?
Why are you doing what?
You're taking minutes and minutes over 1 minute. Why would you say it as it is and act like professional on TV? You know, national TV, you know, and also why would you be going and be true there, but you're being redundant.
Okay, caller.
You know, another thing too, what people is back? You know?
What facts I didn't tell the people?
You're talking about the Calvin Duncan story.
Yes.
Replayed by Patrick Yard. We're talking to the Howard.
No, but hold on. What is wrong about that? Isn't that factual? Isn't that factual?
It's based on our factual stuff.
What fact? Man, caller. You see, you can't please all these people. This guy, he wants to hide from the facts. If ever I say anything inaccurate on this program, please point it out to me. He is telling me that I said something inaccurate about Patrick Yard replacing Carvel Duncan. But Patrick Yard has replaced Carvel Duncan. He is objecting to me saying that Joe Harmon write a letter directed to the Police Service Commission. I have a copy of the letter in my inbox. I just sent it out to the press. You will see it in the newspapers tomorrow. You will see it on your TV tonight. And then he's saying I am repeating myself. I repeat myself so that you understand. Because sometimes I treat with complex matters and I try my best to break it down in simple terms so that everyone who looking at this program would understand it. And the results that I have gotten, the feedback that I have gotten, is that a lot of people who didn't understand a lot of things, they now understand it when I explain it in this program. So caller, I apologize to you if you are so bright and you are so quick that you don't need me to repeat myself. Well, I can't bother with you alone. There are thousands of people who are watching and listening, and I have to repeat it for them because they are not as bright as you are. All right, caller? Caller, you're in the air.
Hi, good night, sir.
Good night.
I'd like to say a few things to the public. Just two things, sir.
I hope you're not going to say anything disrespectful to the public. You're borrowing my TV.
Just sit down and think about this laugh and this day that we got now since this is documented over. Since small girl that I never hear Dale do better.
That's true. Me too.
And all of a sudden Dale is better. So, and then people talking about Barrage and Dale that he speaks so much of money. But if he speaks so much of money, what the hell is he about Guyana, sir? But he's still fighting for Guyana.
Caller, you know, anyway, thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. I am so happy that the same lies that they have told before and they got through with it, they are trying to repeat some of them now. Like they said that Jack Dale gave all the people who got radio license were Barra Jack Dale friend and family. Well, let me tell you a couple of names. They never tell you about Christy Little Rock, right here in New Amsterdam. Is that Jack Dale friend or family? I don't know about that. Alfro Alfonso from Essequibo. Is that Jack Dale's friend or family? I don't know about that. A man named Mr. Graham from Linden. Is that Jack Dale's friend or family? No, I don't know about that. You have a gentleman named Rawl Ferguson. Hits and Jams. Is that Jack Dale's friend or family? I don't know about that. You have this gentleman up in Barbies here. I can't remember his name. I don't even think that Jack Dale knows him. But these are the lies. You see, they're putting 2 or 3 names. Dharam Kumar Siraj. Yes, he's a member of the PPP. Yes, the PPP applied, and the PPP got a radio station. But why should the PPP not get a radio station? The PPP owns New Guyana Company. New Guyana Company is the one that got the radio station. New Guyana Company is the oldest media company in Guyana, surviving up to now. The oldest media company surviving in Guyana up to now. Now, if the PNC wanted a radio license, they should have applied. They have the government 2.5 years now, and they can't even issue one, even to themselves. They are so incompetent. If the AFC wanted a radio station license, they should have applied. Now, had these political parties applied and they were denied, then you had a problem if the PPP alone got. But nothing is wrong. The PPP, Freddie Kissoon, wrote something about the PPP buying 2 house lots from the government at bad settlement. And when the PPP issued a statement that outlined all the facts, but how many hundreds of thousands of house lots it sold to ordinary Guyanese, and how many thousands of plots of land it sold to companies, to churches, to all types of organizations. What is wrong with the PPP buying a house lot for themselves? It went through the same process. It paid like everyone else. What, because the PPP is in government, it cannot benefit from its own government? What kind of nonsense is that? Vishuk Prasad, he owns E-Networks. His father is Ripu Daman Prasad. So because his father is Ripu Daman Prasad, Vishuk Prasad must not get a radio license. The man's father serving the PPP and serving the government and serving the people of Guyana for 50 years or more is a disability against his son? What kind of argument is that? Because I am in politics, my family can benefit? If they benefit only because of their connections, that's a different matter. But if they qualify like everyone else for a scholarship, why should they not get the scholarship? Because their cousin is a minister or their father is the president? That is the kind of foolishness that I don't believe in. Because it's wrong. You are not to be disqualified or discriminated against because of your political views or political association. Our Constitution says that. So the fact that whoever is related to whom is absolutely irrelevant. The issue is, did they qualify for a license? And as I said in my speech in the Parliament, many of those who are quarreling for licenses never applied. They never applied under the new law. They may have applied 40 years ago. But we brought in a new law in place and we invited every interested person who felt that they may have qualified to make an application. So, I just thought that I would highlight that radio license issue because that is being used as a distortion to sidetrack away from the real issue of the violations that the Broadcasting Amendment Bill does to people's freedom of expression, freedom of press, and deprivation of their properties. This is where I have to say goodbye. My operator is signaling to me. We have had, once again, a most engaging discussion, and we have covered quite a number of issues. Good night until I see you again. Have a great week. Thank you.